Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today's video comes as a special request from Tamamalik. Thanks for the comments. Alright, today we're going to treat the October-November 2024 paper 2-2 of the Computer Science Cambridge IGCSE. The programming parts, of course. Alright, let's go straight to it. Alright, so here's the question. It says a one-dimensional 1D array rooms contain the names of up to 20 rooms in a house. Okay, so we need to take note of that. Let me highlight this. Okay, 20 rooms. A two-dimensional array 2D is used to store the length, width, and area of each room. The position of any room's data is the same in both arrays. If you've treated any of these questions before, this message should be very familiar to you. For example, the data in index 5 of dimensions belongs to the room in index 5 of rooms. Okay, so there is a correlation between their indexes. The variable number stores the number of rooms for which data is to be input. There must be at least 3 rooms, but not more than 20. Okay, so let's highlight this. So let's take note of this. This will be the point at which we are going to validate the value that goes into number. All right, so the rest part is the question where the coding will start from. So as usual, I'm going to skip this part a bit and just read down here. I will later copy this part and we're going to use it to write the program. Okay, so you must use pseudocode or program code and add comments to explain how your code works. You do not need to declare any arrays or variables. You may assume that this has already been done. Okay, so take note of this. All input and output must contain suitable messages. Very important. All right, so as usual, I'm writing this program with Python. So whatever programming language you're using, it is very easy for you to quickly adjust. It's just a matter of changing the syntax, but the logic will still remain the same largely. So I'm going to copy this to my IDE and then we'll start coding from there. All right, so here we are. I'm going to paste the question here, which is going to guide us as our comment as well. So what do we need to do? First of all, we need to look at the variables or the array that we would need. Very important. So we need to check out the data structure that is required. So rooms is required, dimension required. Now remember, when you're writing this program on paper, you do not need to do this. Okay, but since we are running as usual, we have to run this program. So it is very important for us to declare them so that our program can run error-free. Okay, so we need rooms, we need dimensions, and we need number. So rooms, that's a 1D array. Dimensions, that's a 2D array. Okay, so here it says allow the number of rooms for which data is required to be input and validated as well. Let's put up a comment here and there just to let us know what those arrays are supposed to contain. Okay, so the dimension contains the names of up to 20 rooms. Okay, I could just copy that and come down here to just my comment, put it as my comment. Okay, and this one should contain should store the length of the area of each room. Okay, so I can do the same. So this becomes a comment for that. Okay, so let's go down to the question properly. Allows the number of rooms for which data is required to be input. Okay, so remember the variable name. It says number. Okay, and it should be between 3 to 20. Okay, so number equals, now remember this should be integer. So we're taking the input, enter the number of rooms, okay, so from the question it says between 3 and 20. So having taken this input, we now need to validate to confirm if it is correct. So so this is going to ensure that the values remain between 3 and 20. So put your comment there, validation. So if this fails, we need to re-input this again, okay? The whole of this. But the prompt needs to change. We are now going to report that there is invalid entry. Okay, so having done that, I think we're good. If we want to run, we can run, but I don't see the need to run it at this stage, so this should work perfectly. Okay, let me just run. I don't know, can't avoid the temptation. Okay, so let me space this out a bit. So let's say I put 23. It will keep me trapped there, so let me space this a bit. Okay, if I put 2, to keep me trapped there, but once I put anything 3, this works. Okay, so let's proceed. Okay, so the next part is for us to allow the names of the room and the length and the width of the room in meters to be entered. Okay, so and we are going to do that with a loop. Okay, so here we take in the name. So I want this to have a message that will say, enter the name of room 1, enter the name of room 2, room 3, room 4. And you know why I have to add 1 here? Because Python will start this from 0. Okay. So after entering the room, we need to add it to the rooms array. Remember that the job of this array is to contain or to store the names of the rooms. Yeah. So you can add your comment here. So after doing that part, the next thing we need to add is the length and the width. Okay, the length and the width. Okay, so the strategy I want to use here is that I want to create a 1D array called dim that will contain the values for one room. Okay, that is, will contain the length, the width, and the area, and then I can later on append this to the 2D array. Okay, so at this point we need to empty this very array so that each time it loops, it takes a fresh entry for the new room. Okay, so this will become the length. And remember that the idea is that almost all the measurements that we're doing here are in 2 decimal place. Okay, so it says calculate the average size of all rooms by area in square meters rounded to 2 decimal place. Okay, you also see here that the area here stored to 2 decimal place. Okay, so I think it will be very safe for us to just assume that everything that we're going to be dealing with here will be float. Okay. Okay, so this message is going to display enter the length for, and then it will display the name of the room in meters. Okay, after entering the length, you equally need to enter the width as well. Okay, so let me take the lazy approach. I just copy and paste and change this to width and change this to width. So after doing this, we can now enter them into this dimension that we have here. We can append them in here. Now remember, I'm trying to follow this question step by step as the instruction says. Okay, all right. If not, we could have calculated the area at once and equally appended it at once. We now need to append. First of all, we need to append the length from the instruction. Okay, and then we equally need to append the width. Okay, so you can put up your comment here and say stores room length, and then this one stores room width. Say allows the area of each room to be calculated as length multiplied by width. Okay, so we need to calculate the area, and then we need to round it to 2 decimal places. Okay, let me indent this comment. All right, so you can say area equals, the area will be equal to length rounded to 2 decimal places. So let's do this first. Length multiplied by the width rounded to 2 decimal places. So this will take care of that very instruction. So after doing that, we equally need to append it to the dim here. What are we appending? Area. After doing this, it is safe to append dim to the dimension. So you can say dimension dot append dim. Okay, so this means that you have successfully entered the record of one room. Okay, and then the loop is going to make sure that you keep appending for the number of rooms that has been indicated earlier by the user. So the next question says calculate the average size of all the rooms by area. Okay, I think at this point let's take a little break and run to see how this part of the program works, because we have already tested this one. So all we need to do is just to print dimension. Yeah, printing that will handle it. So let's run and see how it works. So I believe that works perfectly. So here you have this, that. So that works perfectly. So you can see the length, the width, area, length, width, area, length, width, area. Okay. So the next part will be to calculate the average size of all the rooms by area. Okay. So that means we need to total all area and divide by the number of rooms, and then we need to round them to 2 decimal places. So we need a variable where we need to store the areas as we keep adding them up. Okay, so let's say total area, let's give it a 0 value. Now we need to loop across all the rooms and add the areas to the total area. Now remember that the area is in position 2. Okay, position number 2, that is 0, 1, 2 for each of them. Okay, so with this program we have summed up the entire area as entered by the user. Okay, then we need to calculate the average area. Again, we need to round it up to 2 decimal places as per the instruction. Okay, so the next thing will be for us to find the largest room and the smallest room by area. So in order to find the largest room and the smallest room by area, there are some variables that we need. Let's say we need index max. So this will be the index of the room when we find it, the index of the room, okay, with the largest size. We also need mean index, sorry. So that will be the room with the index of the room with the smallest size. And then we need max area. We need where to store the actual area of the room with the largest size. and then we also need somewhere to store the room with the smallest size. Okay, so let's give them an initial value 0 0. But for the mean area, it is important for us to assume a very high value or pick any area from the list of areas that has been calculated before now. So I would usually go for a very crazy value, so that each time we meet a value lower than this, it keeps replacing the content of mean area. So we need to look across all of the rooms, checking the areas one by one. This very condition here is going to look for the largest room. Okay. So the idea here is this: when we check and we see that this room is larger, this room area is larger compared to our mass area, which is 0. So we need to replace the content of the mass area using the content of that room, and we equally need to change the max index to the current index. Yeah, again, we equally need to do the same thing in order to check for the room with the smallest size. So a quick trick would be just to copy and paste, the lazy approach. Okay, so but be careful when you copy and paste, because you need to go back and change things. Yeah, so you need to change this to mean. Okay, and then you need to change this to less than, because you're looking for the smallest room now. Also need to change this to mean as well. You equally need to change this to mean. Yeah, any other thing that we need to change here? Double check, double check, double check. Yeah, we also need to change this comment to the smallest room. Yeah, okay. So with this, we would have been able to identify the room with the largest size and the room with the smallest size. Okay, do we need to run and see if it's working correctly? Okay, there's no harm in doing that. Okay, let's try and see how it works. So let's just print the max index, mean index. Okay, there's no point stressing my head. Let's just come here, copy this and paste this here. Okay, so let's run and see how it works. All right, so you can clearly see that the room with the largest, the index of the room with the largest area is index 0, which is this one. It's larger compared to all of them. So the next one is the mean index. The room with the smallest area is index 2, okay, which is here, okay, 0 1 2, and then the values are these ones. So that means that at this point, so this next part says outpost the name of all rooms with their dimensions and area. Okay, so we need to do this with a loop. So the first thing I want us to print is the names of the room as per the instruction. Okay, let me take out some time to explain what I did here. So this first statement is going to print room number 1, okay, and then the next one will print the name of the room, and then the length, the width, and the area. Now remember that in position 0 is the length, position 1 is the width, position number 2 is the area, okay, and then it will be printed to 2 decimal places as per the instruction, okay. All right, so it's not really a problem how many decimal places that we print the length and the width. I think the question only specifies that the area must be in 2 decimal places. So the next thing is for us to output the names of the largest room and smallest room by area. Okay, so remember that we've done this already. We've already found out the dimension of the room with the largest area, and we have equally found out the room with the smallest area. Okay, so all we need to do is to reference their indexes and demand that they be printed. So let me just copy this and paste here the lazy approach. Yeah. Okay, so this will solve the problem for us. I'll put the name of the room with the largest and the smallest room by area. So we have already gotten them here. So all we needed to do is just to print them here. Okay, and then the final thing will be to output the total area of the house and the average size of all the rooms. Okay. Now remember that we already have gotten the total area. Where was that again? That will be here. Okay. Yeah. When we were trying to find the average. All right. So all we need to do is to display that. And it must be to 2 decimal places. And finally display the average. And remember, we have also calculated the average here, which is the average area. Okay. And it must be to 2 decimal places. All right, so this looks like we're good to go. Okay, so let's do a final test on this to see if everything checks out well. Okay, so again, let's go with the lowest value to save time. 3 rooms, the name of the room, living room. So this is the display as expected. So we have the length of the first room, which is the living room, the width is there, and then the area. Question is, why is this area not displaying in 2 decimal places? I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to let you guys ponder on it a bit and let me know in your comments. Okay, why do you think this has not been displayed in 2 decimal places despite that we rounded it to 2? Okay, I'm referring to the area here, which is this area here, and this total area. And then why did this display in 2 decimal places? However, let me point out that doing this will give you the maximum marks that you deserve. These displays will not be an issue, but there is a reason to why this happened. So if you know why, please can you kindly let me know. in the comment section. I would like to know. Let's share ideas to know why this didn't follow to 2 decimal places just like this one. All right, that will be all for this video. I'll see you again in the next video. Bye for now. Please remember to share to your friends, those that are in need of these lessons. I think they would find it very helpful. So remember to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you again in the next video. Bye.